I like the Mark II Jag, but what if it had 8 cylinders, a slightly arguably better soundtrack, and a few interior tweaks? The Daimler V8 250 boldly answers the question we never thought we knew we needed the answer to. Hello, and welcome to another classic car review. We've got this delightful Daimler V8 250. It's a really striking example, and we're going to have a little bit of a look round it, see how it really differs from a Mark II Jag, and see what it's like to drive. We're going to get under the bonnet, have a general look inside as well, and I'm going to tell you what I think. It's a lovely day, the sun is shining, and spring is upon us. What more could you want? One of the last of the bunch, hailing from 1969, just before the model was discontinued, this one earns the name V8 250, as there was a slight change in the model designation about midway through production. Still very much based on a Mark II Jag, there are a few styling tweaks on the outside and the inside, but it is very much the engine that differs. So it's under here that the Daimler predominantly differs from the Mark II Jag platform. So let's open up the bonnet and see why it earns the name V8 250. Why in some cases would I pay more for this than a Jaguar with more power? It was a question naturally a lot of people asked, but to be honest, having driven this car, I can see why you would. The 8-cylinder unit gives tremendous grunt and a delightful soundtrack. It's a really good driver, and it's an incredibly reliable unit. Given you service it annually and look after it, it will look after you. Certainly, I can see why you would want to go for one of these. Lashings of wood, high quality leather. It's exactly what you'd expect of a Daimler in here. It's incredibly comfortable with this bench style seating in the front, but still has accommodations for armrests for both front seat passengers, and the same goes in the rear. Headlining in this particular example is very good, with a nice carpeted finish, and you've got that lovely selection of Smith's gauges, sort of a trademark of Jaguar, Daimler, and pretty much anything British of the era. Like most 250s, this example is an automatic. There were a few manuals here and there from what I understand, but the vast majority were autos. Gear changes performed by a column shift, and starting is done with a key and the button. And I'm sure, like most of these, it will still be on the button, as this has been a very well cared for car. Just like that. So let's get behind the wheel of this V8 Executive Express and see what it's like to drive. So, the 250, what is it like to drive? Well, to be honest, it's actually exceeded my expectations. There's a lot of negative press about this V8 and this model in general, simply because it was seen as a less powerful Mark II. And there is, of course, no getting around that. But to be honest, this V8 is a really good engine. Power delivery is surprisingly good, and paired with this auto box, it's such a smooth and sublime ride. There's a wonderfully sedate nature to this Daimler. It's exactly what you want a Daimler to be. It's quiet, it's relaxed, it's refined, and above all else, it swallows up the bumps. It really is like driving around on your living room sofa. But when you want it to, you can put your foot down, and you do get a good bit of power from the V8. I've got acres of room in here, even with this big old steering wheel. There's plenty of place for my legs to go, and thanks to the bench style seating, I feel free and I can move around. Obviously, you do get some sacrifice there if you hit a corner particularly hard, but who's doing that in a Daimler? The auto box in this particular example is very good. It does a wonderful job of masking the changes, so you get a very linear power delivery. It's very impressive, especially considering the era of this car. It can really get up and go when you want it to. A cumbersome old Daimler? I don't think so. There is a wonderful bit of road presence with something like this. You do get a lot of glancing looks and admiring eyes, to be honest, more than anything. There's a lovely familiarity to this shape. It's quintessential Britain. I'm absolutely lost. I have no idea where I am. This wasn't the road I'm meant to be on. But I couldn't care less, because this is such a lovely place to be. As we come out this junction, let's give it a little bit of oomph and see what we can do. There is a wealth of grunt and low down torque in this. It's really quite impressive. So, the V8 250, what do I think? Well, to be honest, this is a car that's actually really surprised me, and in a good way. Now, obviously, styling was never up for debate. This is a sublime looking car, especially in this old English white over red. It's a classic look that just works, and you really can't fault that. But the power delivery, there was some debate there. On paper, the Jaguar, yes, has more power, but in the real world, this is a very well performing car, and it drives excellently. The 8-cylinder has plenty of grunt and the power delivery is good. It's consistent and you're never left wanting more. It wafts along the road, the bench seat in front and rear really does absorb you. And as I said in the driving portion of this video, it does feel like you're driving around in a sofa. It does a marvellous job of doing what you want an executive express like this to do. It's quintessentially Daimler and I love it. Now, thank you very much for watching, and do remember, if you have a classic car to sell, head on over to classiccarbuyer.co.uk and we'll be sure to see if we can help you out. Bye-bye.